Awesome.
Okay, all set.
Excellent. All right, so let's get going. This is the September 6th, 2023 West Concord Advisory Committee meeting. I'm kicking things off officially as the chair here. And I know that we do have a guest who is going to be presenting about a project to us today. And so I might want to shuffle our agenda around a little bit, but I just want to make certain that we kind of go over the rules of the road, first of all, and then kind of do a brief introduction of some folks who are on the line here who are kind of taking stock of what our committee is all about. So why don't we get started with our rules of the road. First of all, when we have guests who are presenting to us, we want to have a very cordial and inquisitive exchange with them. And we want to make certain that we keep any sort of like emotions that we're feeling either like highly positive or highly negative kind of controlled to make sure that we are able to get all of our questions out and also help any members of the public who have joined our meeting better understand the issues that we're discussing. So with that, I will call the meeting to order. It's 7:02. We do have quorum, and I know John Cooley, who's one of our members, is going to need to drop off shortly. So I'd love to get our guest, I think it's Matt, able to present as soon as possible. I do want to also draw attention to the other folks who have, well, maybe what we should do is just go around and introduce ourselves, the folks who are on the committee, and then the ones who are joining from the public or who are just getting to know our committee for the first time.
So Susan, you do need to take a roll call vote.
Oh, to start
your
the meeting?
virtual.
Okay, all right, because we're virtual. Great. All right. So let's see. Do I need to name people basically to make sure that they're present? Is that it?
You can just call off who you see is in the members and they can just say present or here.
Okay, great. All right, so Nicole Hammond.
Here.
Great. Ann Sussman.
Sorry, here.
John Cooley.
Here.
Let's see, and Barbara Morse. Barbara, are you available to say that you are here? I saw her come off mute. It's a good sign. Barbara, we're not hearing you. Barbara, do you want to see if you can speak up or maybe like chat to us that you're here?
So the town does not enable chat.
Oh, okay.
So I think Barbara's working on getting her video going. Or maybe not. But you can, you have a quorum, so you, Lisa, I think you have a quorum.
Yes. Yeah, we definitely do. So I'm wondering if as Barbara is getting herself on to say that she's present, should we go through and have some other folks introduce themselves? Would that be appropriate?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay, all right. So I'm just going to start from the left of the screen that I see on the second row, and we've got Greg Terrio. Greg, take it away.
Well, thank you, Susan. You got my last name pronounced correctly. I would always butcher yours, but I'm so thrilled to be part of this. I've known you for a long time. We worked almost a decade at Forrester, but thanks for the opportunity to listen in.
Yeah, definitely. Greg is a resident of West Concord, and we have worked together in the past. As you
Moved
mentioned.
here about 7 years ago, my wife and my son. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely. Anna, do you want to go ahead?
Sure. My name is Anna Feldwig. I live on 343 Commonwealth Avenue, and I am a physician. I raised my kids in Concord, and we moved to West Concord last year, and it feels like where I would like to grow old. So I wanted to get involved and understand how and why things happen here. So thank you for inviting me.
Awesome. Matt, if you want to quickly introduce yourself.
Sure. My name's Matt Seppi. I'm from EMS Development, and I'm here tonight just to introduce the committee to a proposed project that I'm working on in West Concord.
Great. Linda? Linda Ferrari, I should say.
Hello, I'm Linda, 20 Damon Street. We've lived here for about 8 years. I have 2 daughters, They're 6 and 10, and I just love the West Concord community. And I drove my husband crazy because when we looked for a house here, I said I had to be walking distance to a town center, and we are, and I'm thrilled to be part of that.
Great. Honor?
Honora Weiner, my husband is here, William Lott. We live at 1011 Main Street. We've lived in Concord in this house for 43 years, and are very invested in West Concord and our community, and are just interested in proposals and how the town responds to that information being provided.
Awesome. Elizabeth, do you want to quickly introduce yourself for the folks who might not recognize you?
Sure. I'm Elizabeth Hughes. I'm the town planner, and I'm your Zoom host for the evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Joe, would you like to say hello? Joe, you might be still on mute. Well, maybe Joe's taking a break from his screen. I will move on to Linda Escobedo.
Hi, everyone. I'm Linda Escobedo, I'm on the Concord Select Board and your liaison to this committee.
Awesome. Wow, it's so nice to meet you. Great. And then I see Christine and Paul Denaro, I think.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
So my name is Christine. I'm with my husband, Paul, and we live in West Concord. He has lived here his entire life, and I've lived here with him for 34 years. And we're just interested, obviously, in West Concord and what goes on and what is happening here. So.
Awesome. We appreciate you attending tonight. Great.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's see. We don't have Barbara back yet. We do have quorum. So I'm wondering if I should get started, knowing that once John leaves, we're not going to have quorum, and maybe Barbara will be able to join the next 20 minutes or so. Nicole, would you possibly be able to jot down some minutes for this meeting? It'll be recorded, so you can always go and look at the recording to boost your memory on different things, and the minutes don't have to be complicated or super detailed. Oh, I can't hear you, sorry.
West Concord means so much to me. I'm doing this while I'm on vacation.
I love you. Thank you. Okay, so now, I think I'm seeing Barbara now. Yay, Barbara, you're here.
Yeah, we have to shut everything down and put it back up again. So keep your fingers crossed.
Yeah, okay. Well, welcome back. And we were on the roll call vote when you disappeared. So I'm going to ask you if you are present.
I am, finally.
Okay, great. All right, so we have a full committee here. So what I would like to do is pull forward Matt's presentation so that John can get the benefit of hearing it, at least for part of it, and then we can take questions from the committee when Matt is done, and then also take questions from the public. So Matt, if you would like to go ahead.
Sure. Again, my name is Matt Seppi from EMS Development. One thing I would like to say is I do have 3 dogs, and my wife just got home from work, so you may hear them in the background, and I apologize in advance if that is the case. I thought what I would like to do tonight is just to provide the committee, as I mentioned, just a brief overview to a proposed project that I'm working on in West Concord. It is located at 1053 Main Street, and the property that is behind that, on that parcel, which is known as ADX. And in my past projects I've done in town, I've always tried to connect with the West Concord Advisory Committee meeting along the way to get input and feedback from them, so I can try to take that and incorporate it as best we can in our future rounds of plans that we'll be working on. Just a real brief history, like my grandparents grew up in West Concord, my dad grew up in West Concord, we still own the family house in West Concord, so I like to think that I'm trying to be sensitive to the needs of the area as we do our projects. So that's one thing I'd be always looking to do, is get some feedback from this group on those things. So the one question I had is, would anybody have the ability to connect to the link that was on the agenda to call up the plans that I could just walk the committee through just very briefly?
I'll get that, Matt.
Okay, thank you. I think if we just pull up the link, Elizabeth, and we can just start on the locus first page and familiarize everybody with where the location is. Great, thank you. So 1053 Main Street, as you can see on the title page, it's highlighted in black. 1053 Main Street and its parcel, abutting parcel that is known as 80X. So the highlighted black area is showing where those two parcels exist. The parcel right where the building is, that's actually 1053 Main Street, and that's just an existing single family dwelling that's there now. It's been vacant for about 10 years. It's in pretty tough shape. There's an abutting parcel next to it, and that makes up the larger portion that's known as 80X. And combined, the two parcels are a little bit over 2.2 acres. As we go through the sheets, we'll see in more detail, but on parcel 80X, there is a paper road, what's known as a paper road. It was a road that was laid out in 1899 that goes in between 1053 Main Street and 1063 Main Street. Probably, Elizabeth, if we go to sheet 3, actually, that shows it a little bit clearer. If you could go one more sheet down, Elizabeth. This is the parcel as it exists today. The paper road comes in off of Main Street, in between 1053 Main Street and 1063 Main Street. It goes all the way out to Old Bridge Road, and then it cuts across the property over to its Staffordshire Lane. The big rectangle you see in the back of the property, that's an old tennis court from the 80s that used to be an active neighborhood area, an old clay court. And the smaller parcel that's up by the front, you can see is where the existing dwelling is now. Again, both the site and the home are in pretty challenging shape and haven't been upkept and had much upkeep in quite some time. Maybe if we can go to sheet number 2 next, Elizabeth, that would be helpful. So on this sheet here, what we're showing is a proposed subdivision that would exist of a total of 5 lots. The first lot would be an expansion of the existing lot that's there now, that's labeled lot number 1. So we would just make that a larger lot, provide more area for it, so it would be conforming in size. And then additionally, we would create lots 2, 3, 4, and 5. And those lots vary between 12,000 to 17,000 square foot lots. And what we're looking to do when we go to the next sheet, that has a lot of information on the next sheet. But if we want to try to go to sheet number 4, Elizabeth, I'll do my best to try to walk everyone through it because there's a lot of information on this one. But what we're looking to do is within the existing right-of-way that's known as the paper road, that's 40 feet wide. And we're proposing to provide an 18-foot road wide that would come in off Main Street, labeled as Road A, right where Elizabeth's mouse is. We would continue that up towards Old Bridge Road, but we are planning to stop it short of Old Bridge Road. This is a project I've been working on for quite a few years, and I've met with a lot of abutters and folks in the neighborhood, and myself included. We don't feel there's really any benefit to connecting out to Old Bridge Road. It would just introduce cut through traffic and so forth. So we're planning to stop the road there as it's shown. We would continue the road where it's labeled as Road B, heading over to its Staffordshire Lane. And that would stop right at the edge of the property line between 80X and Staffordshire Lane. And we would provide a turnaround there for the town's emergency vehicles. Currently on the different lots. We just have rectangles and squares in as the house boxes right now, just to try to show an approximation of where houses would be located on the lots. And, these aren't like final foundation plans or anything of that nature. We're just trying to demonstrate where they would go and how they would sit on each of the different individual lots. So right now I'm currently planning to propose just doing all single family homes. I am considering potentially on the existing 1053 Main Street lot, maybe doing a duplex there just to provide some alternative type of housing options and different price points available. But I haven't finalized that yet, but I'm considering doing that on that one parcel at 1053 Main Street. But I thought maybe what I do now is I could just open it up for questions, and we could go through any that may come up, and I'll do my best to answer them.
That's great. Okay, so the committee would get a chance to ask questions first, and actually I'm going to give priority to John just because I know he needs to leave on the earlier side, and not to put you on the spot, John, but if you do have any questions after seeing that run through, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so it looks interesting and thoughtful. Are there any considerations to things like affordable housing? I know you mentioned all single family homes. There's some motivation nowadays for multifamily homes. Have you kind of where has your thought process been on all those kinds of things other than just sort of single family homes as they are?
I started as looking at it actually as doing a planned residential development. I've done one in town before, and I originally had started looking at something along that lines because I do think it's a great walk to center location, and I thought maybe we could try to have some smaller homes there and maybe increase the density a little bit. But that was something that over the years working with the abutters didn't seem like it was something that people really felt comfortable with, because it was just, it is surrounded by existing dwellings and homes and so forth. And they just felt there's going to be too much density in there to do something other than single family homes. So I have deviated away from proposing doing a planned residential development to trying to come up with an option that would just improve the existing paper road that exists and do single family lots that would be allowed via the today's zoning bylaws.
Do you allow for some sort of common or public open space in that plan as you have it?
No, not as part of this subdivision plan. On our plans way back from years ago under the planned residential development, we did have some of those items in there, but when we deviated again from planned residential development to subdivision, it's really just a creation of single family lots, and there's not a common area in that.
And what was the PRD that you did before?
It's up in Ingham Lane, which is up on Route 62. If you go past the mill, it's up there on the right hand side.
Got it. Okay, that's all I have for now.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, go ahead.
So I'd also want to add, Matt's been touching base with myself for the last few years, and this property has gone through land court as far as ownership. There was also adjacent to this another smaller piece of property that originally when we talked about the PRD, that's where there could have been an option to have some public park or public open space, which is a requirement of the PRD. But that's still going through land court and is not, had to be taken out of the project. So from the zoning bylaw perspective and the requirements for the PRD, it really does not meet those goals as far as the type of open space or an area sufficient for a public park because you currently, the project is being designed, there's the existing dwelling, which can hook up to sewer. And then under the current sewer rules and regulations, there's only the ability to connect one additional dwelling to the sewer without going through a process. So a lot of, there's, so only 2 can connect to sewer. The other 3 have to be on private septic systems, which then, again, takes up additional space. As Matt's been going through this process with the planning board for the definitive subdivision plan and is going to continue to have conversations with the water and sewer division about potentially hooking up all the homes, which will cause less grading, less tree removal. So, we are still evolving in this process, but from the pure zoning bylaw requirements for a PRD, it would be very challenging to meet all of those parameters with the limitations on the site.
Thanks, Elizabeth. One thing I should have pointed out more specifically too is that the plans are evolving. As Elizabeth mentioned, we resubmitted back at the end of August into town staff to address town staff comments, and we're continuing to work with the different departments to enhance the plans, as well as speaking with the butters and trying to identify any questions and concerns they have and see if we can address those as well. So the plans are, are still fluid right now as we work with town staff on them.
Great, good to know.
One more, Matt. Is the development in Ingham Lane, is that a 55 plus development?
It is not, no.
Okay.
Okay, Anne.
Oh, hi. So I think it'd be really helpful if thank you so much for your work here. And I think it'd be really helpful if you show an image of the existing conditions and elevation. People can't really read plans, they're 2D. In reality, you'll never see a plan. What you'll see is a 3D elevation. So it'd be really helpful if you show, like I just Googled it, what it looks like. And I presume that house will remain and just be upgraded. Is that it?
That's most likely. We're planning to remove the house and put a new one there. It's in very
so that'll be, but what's interesting about that house is it has certain kind of historic character and charm that people identify as Concord. And it'd be nice to see, I think it'd be really good to show that elevation. Are you going to be enhancing the streetscape, or will you be making it look like it's Baker Avenue? And so I think that really matters. And I think actually this design, I am a licensed architect. I do study actually how people perceive things. This is a building that's very easy for people to look at. Whereas a modern blank facade or something that looks like, a Ramada Inn would not be. So I think it's really important when you give this talk, right now we can't really locate, we should show what the streetscape is now, and you should say you're going to improve it. Okay. That your design will enhance it and real estate values will go up for the whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because I think walkability is going to be incredibly important. How things look, does it feel like Concord? We don't want it to feel random. There's a lot of concern, everything's starting to look like a Ramada Inn. That's not what we want, I think. And there are West Concord Junction guidelines we've come up with. I'm not sure that's for residential, but I think it's really important to show what the existing streetscape is and give a case that you're planning to enhance it, because that also is what the neighbors will want, right?
Great. So, sorry, Matt, you can go ahead and reply to that. I just wanted to share with everybody what the existing streetscape is, because I do think that's
a great idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
You're so brilliant, Susan.
Well, so this is just Google Maps. Google Maps is brilliant. It's not really me.
This house is going to be demolished.
Yeah, it'll be demolished.
That's sad.
Right.
That's sad.
Yeah.
That's terrible, because that house has a great deal of character. Now, these are similar houses, similar design, but they're more modern.
So yeah, there are some other homes around this that look a little bit newer than the one that
some of them, but the traditional houses look better than the newer ones.
So Matt, did you have anything that you wanted to reply, or we can always go to Barbara for her question?
No, I just want to say thank you for the comments, and I jotted those down. So thank you, Anne.
Well, please come back.
Okay, and let's see, Barbara, and then we'll take Nicole after that. Barbara, go ahead.
So I can tell you that when I was on CHCC, we looked at that house as a possibility for rehabbing it for an affordable unit and found that it was in such poor condition that what it would take to rehab it would be not worth doing it. So even 5-6 years ago, the thought was it would have to be torn down in order to make it a habitable spot. I'm also going to put in a plug for Ingham Lane, which is really just down the street from where I am, and it's a lovely little neighborhood. And I think you did a great job on that. And clearly it shows your desire to make things neighborhoody, even if it isn't going to look exactly like this particular one is. I guess I read through some of the material that was on the site, on the planning board site, and I'm wondering how comfortable you are with the ability to have responded to some of the neighbors' concerns. That's always a challenge. I understand whenever there's anything new going in. I believe the one, it may even be just 3 houses to the right of this one, 3 or 4, is a fairly new house in and of itself. Sits very much on the corner between either Cottage or Bridge and Main Street. So where do you stand in terms of helping the neighbors understand some of the things that will be necessary to get 5 houses in there?
We are continuing to work with all the abutters as much as we can, and I've had I'm over 20 meetings, easy, with the abutting parcels, and we do have some questions and concerns we've received from them, and we're working to try to adjust plans accordingly as best we can to address each of those as we work through the process of generating, hopefully a plan that we would feel comfortable with being able to present.
Great. I wasn't able to find Hingham Lane. Like, how should I look for it so we can
Yeah,
go
I
take
tried
a
to
gander?
Google Hingham Lane.
Ingham,
nothing came up.
INGHAM.
How do you spell it?
INGHAM.
Hingham
It's a
Lane.
neighborhood of about 7 houses.
That is correct, yes.
One of
Hingham
which
Lane, okay.
was fully affordable.
Ah,
Okay, let's see. Can we bring it up?
I'm trying. I don't know if it's actually been photographed by Google yet.
Well, it goes in off of Main, but it's a really nice little neighborhood. Goes in back toward the river.
All right,
Thank you, Barbara.
That's probably not the right place.
you can,
Well,
It's directly across the street from that.
Yeah, it's directly
Oh.
across from that yellow house. That one that you just saw, if you spun Google Maps around, you might be able to see it.
okay. As I'm doing this, why don't we hear from Nicole?
so you can find an example of Ingham Lane's architecture on Coldwell Banker, because I looked it up, I Googled it. And I also looked up Hingham first. Ingham. And so you get an example of the architecture at Coldwell Banker, because they had one of the houses for sale. I just wanted to note that also interested in affordable housing. Dan Gainsborough for Riverwalk, I think had issues with one of the houses on Main Street, and may or may not have, there was an issue. Anyway, he rebuilt the house exactly as is, but bigger and modern. So it I think was raised, and then rebuilt it so that it looked the same, but bigger, a little bit more modern on the inside, but still had the same scope on the exterior, which I just wanted you to think about perhaps.
Sure.
And then I didn't get a chance to read any of the letters from the abutters. I apologize. But I am interested in hearing their point of view.
I think I've been successful in finding Ingham Lane. Thanks everyone for the help. And I think I do remember when this development was being created. We had just moved to West Concord. Yeah, this looks lovely. Let's see. So do we have any other committee members? I don't see anyone with their hand up. Any members of the public want to comment about this? Hearing no one, I do have a couple of
Oh,
questions.
Anna has a question, her hand up.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Let's see. So yeah, Anna, go ahead. Oh, Anna, you're on mute.
I was just wondering what the estimated square footage of the houses was going to be.
Right now, we don't even have the actual house plans generated yet. In that zoning district, though, typically you end up being around like the 3,600 square foot range, and 500 of that's usually associated with the garage, because the floor to area ratio in that district on a 10,000 square foot lot would be a 3,600 square foot house. And we'll probably be around in that range. And again, usually about 500 of that or so goes towards the garage.
I was wondering if these homes are going to be all electric and that you're not going to be doing gas hookups or having any kind of fossil fuel aspect for the homes.
They are going to be all electric. All the ones I've built in town the last few years have been all electric, and it's gone pretty well. So we're going to continue to do that. And even the ones I did back on Ingham Lane, I think, heck, I can't even, when was that? 2016, I think. Those were all net zero ready, with heat pumps, and those were dual fuel heat pumps back then, because the heat pump technology wasn't as good. So you had to have supplemental gas sometimes. But now, as I mentioned, the last couple of years, the new houses I've been building in town have been all electric, and that's what we'll be planning to do at this proposed development as well.
Great. And then I did have a question about, I noticed in the plans that you were advocating for not having sidewalks on the streets. And I think I've just realized that this, the roadway from Main Street actually leads into what seems to be pseudo cul-de-sacs. Like, I'm not seeing that there's anywhere to go once you enter from Main Street into this neighborhood, but I just wanted to confirm that, like, there's, all you can really do in there is turn around. There's not like a cut through to another larger street. Am I interpreting that right?
That is correct. Without connecting it up to Old Bridge Road, it's just going in. The only real traffic you would see is folks going in that live in that development area. So
Yeah.
we thought, along with some of the other projects in town, that have to maybe cut down on the impervious. And since there's really only 4 houses in there, do we, don't need as big a road width. We don't need the sidewalks, and we try to cut down on some of the impervious material.
Yeah, I'm a little conflicted about that, because I know we definitely want to encourage folks to ride their bikes and kids to be out on their tricycles, roller skates, walking safely and stuff like that. And so I don't know, I'm not sure, like, what do the other committee members feel about being okay not having sidewalks in this small development, knowing that it actually doesn't cut through to anywhere, so there shouldn't be a lot of through traffic? Does anyone else have any thoughts on that? And do you have any thoughts?
Well, you know me, I'm big on walking. And I think I understand people can also walk on a street pretty safely if there's no cars on it, but it could be, I think biking and walking are going to be big. I think my other concern would be if you take down the 53, is that the number? 153 with 53?
1053, yeah.
1053, if you take that house down, you've got to make sure that the house that replaces also looks like it's looking on the street. It has the same face-like facade, elevation facing the street.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to put the house to the side, because that will destroy the coherent feeling of all the houses looking at you as you walk down the street that you have on Main Street. You're going to disrupt the coherence. I'm a licensed architect, and I also study neuroscience. So visual perception happens non-consciously. And the reason Venice works so well, the reason old Concord works well, is the houses all look coherent. When you shift to modernism, you shift away from that, and you get blank facades facing the street. That doesn't work. So you want to make sure if you take out that 1053, you replace it with something that looks face-like on the street and that doesn't focus on the garage. You also really need to focus on walking. And so I'm a little reluctant that you're making this as a drive-by place.
Well, I think that it seems like the sidewalks would continue on Main Street. I believe the sidewalk relief that you were suggesting, Matt, was more for within the development as it cuts in beyond 1053, but correct me if I'm wrong.
That is correct. Yes, we would be doing sidewalk work at the entrance of the proposed road, and improving that sidewalk along Main Street there and making that that's in tough shape too. But we'd be working on that. We're currently not proposing sidewalks coming into the development.
Why don't we hear
And
from?
I do agree. The plan is, I would think the front elevation of the house would be facing out on Main Street. I don't have a plan to have it face the side
Thank
of the
you.
road. So I would agree with you on that.
Barbara, do you still have a comment?
Well, just a thought, which is the piece that's going out to Old Bridge Road. Maybe there's a path that goes out to that connects for people who were going out rather than, I don't know, is that going to be paved, but then stop at Old Bridge? Maybe there's a way to make that connect the two neighborhoods, rather than, I don't have a problem with no sidewalks with 5 houses in a little neighborhood, and one's a cul-de-sac at one end at Staffordshire, so that there's a place for emergency vehicles, I think you said.
That is correct.
That's a great place for kids to learn to ride bikes, etc. So I'm wondering if we can't utilize what's going out toward Old Bridge in a similar kind of way, that it makes it a play space, or there's a path at where the pavement ends or something. I don't know. I see a lot of possibilities there.
Great suggestion. Elizabeth, go ahead.
So I'll just clarify, the current planning board's subdivision rules and regulations require sidewalks on both sides of the street.
Okay.
And if a proponent does not wish to do sidewalks on both sides of the streets or other dimensional changes, they are required to get a waiver from that requirement from the planning board. So Matt's comment that that he doesn't want to, is not showing a sidewalk, it still requires a waiver from the planning board, and the planning board will, evaluate that and have the conversation with Matt. I do think that they will have the same conversation you're having about at least some type of connection, pedestrian connection between Main Street and Old Bridge, but definitely not a vehicle connection. That would be a horrendous cut through issue. But they will likely have the conversation with some type of pedestrian connection.
Thank you for clarifying that, Elizabeth.
I have another question, and this is just related to road signage. I'm assuming there'd be a stop sign from this new development so that cars are like stopping before they turn either direction onto Main Street. And would it be possible to have a sign that warns people who see the street from Main Street that it's a dead end, like no through street or something like that, so that it's very clear that folks shouldn't try to get somewhere else by turning down that road?
So I'll actually take that one, Matt. There will be a requirement for, all type of required signage as far as a stop sign, stop line on this new road. Matt will submit 3 proposed names for each of the 2 roads, and the planning board will get input from the historical commission and the fire department on naming those roads. Given the waivers to the dimensional requirements, the width, different requirements for stormwater drainage, this will be maintained as a private way, and those homeowners, as a homeowners association, will be responsible for the maintenance and plowing of the road. So, excuse me.
That's, I can take down my hand.
I'm
You
dealing with something if I talk too much. So obviously I'm talking too much. So there will be a little sign that says it's a private way, and no outlet or no through street, or that will also be a requirement.
Okay, great. I did think I saw Honor's hand up, but I'm not sure if you attended it. I feel like I should ask though. Honor, did you have a comment?
Well, that was my question, was whether the road and the access to Old Bridge would be private or provide access to other people. So I did have my hand up to ask that question, but that was answered. I live a couple of houses away from Staffordshire. So the question for me was whether there would be access for neighbors to use that path, but you're saying it's a private road, so it's not accessible to other people in the area.
So it will be a private road because of the waivers. So the town will be under no obligation, and town meeting will be under no obligation to accept it as a public road and accept the maintenance and the plowing. But the conversation about there being some pedestrian public access between Main Street and Old Bridge, that's a conversation that Matt will have with the planning board. And whether that is feasible from a layout perspective, an impervious coverage perspective, a lighting perspective. So there's a lot of, a public safety perspective. So there's a lot of things that will go into that conversation, but that's definitely a conversation that Matt will have with the planning board.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments about this project? All right, great. So I think that the group is happy to have heard about this, and I'm not sure that any other steps are required, but it's been wonderful to hear about it from you, Matt, and I guess we'll be watching as this progresses through the planning board.
Do you think we should make a vote or a decision about the sidewalks and say what our recommendation was? Because I don't really know the sidewalk conditions there, but I am concerned that walkability is really huge. And I don't know, I just haven't studied enough. I can't say, but I'm beginning to think this is in West Concord. We should look at it and get back to the planning board about what we feel about the sidewalk issue, because this is going to come up again, right? And walkability is huge. And as the baby boomers age, having it safe places for elderly to walk is huge. There's all these articles coming out how it was just the New York Times today, in fact, how it's not safe for the elderly to walk in America. So I'm thinking this is a really important issue, and how we approach it, not only in this case, it'll be coming up again and again. I think we should look at it. And I think we really need to look at the sidewalks everywhere, because there is an issue in West Concord where we don't have coherent sidewalks that meet up with crosswalks. We've talked about this for 2 years.
Yeah.
So I don't think we can brush it off.
Okay, well, so how should we go ahead?
I'm sorry, Suzanne. So I just want to make certain, the recommendation that you make to the planning board would be solely in relationship to whether there should be, a sidewalk within the development. There is a sidewalk on Main Street, and the new roadway entrance from Main Street, Matt, that's within the public road right of way. Matt will be required to meet all of Concord Public Works construction and design standards for that sidewalk, the approaches for that sidewalk, detectable warning mats, the condition of the sidewalk within the frontage of that property. So I do think if the committee wants to make a recommendation to the planning board regarding sidewalks within the development, that's fine. Anything outside of that development is within the public road right of way, and this project, as the roadway gets put in, he will be required to meet Concord Public Works design requirements.
Okay, so just so I make sure I understand, so anything that's within the development, if there's no sidewalk currently planned, we could make a recommendation that we would like for there to be a sidewalk, but Public Works is going to dictate anything that happens, on Main Street in front of the 1053 home.
Correct.
Okay. All right, so why don't we take a vote to see
Oh.
if we should recommend to the planning board about the sidewalks? I'm not sure
Well, I
what the
feel
group all
like we
thinks
need to
about
look at
this.
it a little more. I need to see where they are on Main Street. We don't have time really right
Mhm.
now, but we maybe need to look at it and just address it again at the next meeting and just see where it is, because I mean, I want to see, and
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
very concerned about safe walking. And I know most parents I have met in Concord today are afraid to have their children walk or bike to school. That is a fact. And we need to look at that. And I also, the big article in New York Times today, it's not safe for the elderly to walk in our towns. And so we need to, maybe this isn't appropriate. Maybe we're fine not having sidewalks here, but I think we need to have time to look at it.
So,
And we-
Anne, I want to bring this back. We're only talking about within this development as far as the
I
waiver
get that,
to
I get
requiring
that,
a
but
sidewalk.
we need to look at it. We need to look at it within the whole, we need to see where it exactly is and see the whole.
Maybe we could wait until there are a little bit further along. At this point, can he even tell us exactly where the houses will be, both in relation to Main Street as well as within the development? And maybe we give them an opportunity to get a little bit further along in that planning, and then we can see the importance of having sidewalks that might connect to the sidewalks that are on Main Street, or whether that would in some other way disrupt the flow of the neighborhood. I'm certainly not in a position at this point to make a recommendation one way or the other.
I'm not either, but I think we need to look at it. I think we need to look at it because I think this is going to be huge. I think this is going to be a huge thing. And what is the precedent we're establishing, even though this is a private property? What are we establishing? So we need to look at it, and we can just, maybe we decide we can't vote at our next meeting, but maybe we can make a recommendation. We need a little more time.
okay. So Elizabeth, do you think we would have more time to dig into the sidewalk issue, like say at our next meeting, and then do a recommendation to the planning board? Like how far along is the process with the planning board?
Yeah, your meeting's October 4th, I think.
Mhm, yeah.
Yeah, the planning board will not be finished before October 4th.
Okay,
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. I really appreciate this.
yeah. All right, so yeah, we can plan to think more about the sidewalks, take a look at the plans that are posted up there on the planning board site, and think about, what would this neighborhood be like with sidewalks and without, and come up with an opinion on this.
Perfect.
That'd be great. Okay.
Well, thank you to everyone for their time tonight and their feedback. I appreciate that, and thank you very much.
Thanks for coming to our meeting. Great to meet you. All
Okay, have a good night.
right, take care. Okay, awesome. So let's see, we can go on to other business. We do still have a quorum, so we can get to some of the other items on our agenda. Let me pull that up and share it. Let's see.
Were we going to report just
Sorry.
Were we going to report just briefly about the feedback I got from Aaron McCluskey that they're still waiting for the signs? So
Yeah, let's definitely get to that when we do the liaison reports, and I promise you that we are going to have time to get to that tonight. We might go a little bit past 8, but I'm aiming for, like, let's say adjourning by 8:15 or so, if that works for everybody. But I definitely want to make sure that we go over our minutes and get those approved so that we can send them in and get them posted. And John had provided the minutes to me, so we can look at them. Yeah.
Sorry, Susan, I just had a quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
The speaker, I believe, is gone. When they figure out how big these houses are going to be, I believe he said like 3,600 square feet per house. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
I didn't want to ask that question in front of him because obviously I know he wants to try to maximize the value, but I'm just trying to think about, again, back to that affordability point. That's a big house. Is there a reason that, I don't know if they're all going to be that or if he said that was the average, but I'm just curious how those get determined. Is it based on the lot size? But my point is, it would be nice if that neighborhood had a range of price points in it and not all 3,600 square feet homes.
Yeah, that's a great point. I was hearing Elizabeth say something about the need to have septic in for these homes, like the ones that aren't directly on Main Street, and how that might be driving some of the decision making about what kind of home can exist on the lot. Elizabeth, could you repeat that point again
Sure.
and let us
Sure.
know what that is?
Sure. Because this is a standard subdivision, all the planning board has jurisdiction is the layout of the roads, the utilities, the stormwater drainage, and they are required to make sure that there's adequate utilities. So he had to go through and do soil testing to show that those lots that will be on septic, that the soils are adequate. Under subdivision control law, the type of house, the size of the house, the style of the house, none of that is within the jurisdiction of the planning board under the subdivision rules and regs. For this project, the size of the homes will be factor of two things. One, the size of the lots themselves, they're between 10,000 and I think 15,000 square feet. So it comes down to the area that's devoted for the septic system, and that's based on the number of bedrooms under the Title V health code. And then also under the zoning bylaw, there's a floor area ratio requirement for all residential lots, all residential zoning in town. And that floor area ratio, basically the calculation gets done based on the size of the lot and the area, the gross floor area, excluding basements, decks, opened and screened in porches. So it includes the garage, it includes the square footage of the house. And for a lot of 10,000 square feet, that calculation is, it's a little less than 3,600 square feet. So a standard 2-car garage is 524 square feet. So that gets taken out. And then you're looking at the gross floor area of the house, which is exterior to exterior wall, any space that has a ceiling height over 6'8". So it's all the places within the house. So that's going to be the two determining factors on the square footages of those homes. They definitely, more than likely, some of them may be smaller because you start taking up space for a septic system, and how Title V calculates. You look at all the rooms and you add up all the rooms and you divide that by half. So somebody can't say this is a bedroom and this is an office and this is a playroom. That doesn't matter. So there's a lot of factors that go into that calculation.
Okay, thank you for the explanation. I figured
You're
that wasn't
welcome.
appropriate while he was on the call, so thank you.
Okay, let's see. So I'd love to review our minutes from the last meeting, and John has prepared these and edited them a little bit at my request, but we can just kind of fly through these and make sure that we captured everything from our last meeting accurately. So let's see. Last meeting, which was August 9th, everyone was here. Barbara joined a little bit late, but let's see. We got started and Linda Miller presented on the MBTA Communities Act. Anna introduced herself. Great. Elizabeth Hughes is involved in the MBTA Communities Act. And so then this kind of explanation goes through what Linda said about MBTA communities. And this is also documented elsewhere, I think on a lot of recorded presentations, including ours. So folks can go back and refresh on this if they need to.
There's a typo with there.
Oh, yep. Thank you. Great. I wonder what this typo is.
And even though I'm not on the committee, I'll just clarify. Erin Stevens is the senior planner with the planning division.
Oh, yep.
Yeah, she's not on the board.
Okay. Senior planner with planning division.
Yes.
with the planning division. Great, thank you. Options in this. Okay. Active map on the website. Okay. All right, and so just to remind everyone, there are these different connection, in-person connection times. You can go talk to various representatives, I think of the planning board and others about the MBTA Communities Act. So that's something to keep an eye on. You can look at what those meetings are on the town website. Okay. Okay, and then last meeting, we did go pretty long because we were getting together our letter to the planning board about 166 COM. So we reviewed all of that. We adjourned at nearly 9 o'clock. So I don't know if anyone else had a chance to review these minutes before right now, but did anyone see things that they wanted to change here? Oh, Nicole, go ahead. Oh, you're on mute.
I try to be a good committee person by being on mute all the time. So in regards to reported accidents, I think he said unreported accidents, and I wanted to make sure it was reported. I thought
Yes, here we go. Let's see.
I thought I responded to him, but perhaps I didn't.
Okay.
And I was trying to find these minutes nonstop today at the beach. I couldn't.
Thank you for searching for them, and that's okay. We can make the change here. Okay, so
it's
accidents include
they're only reported. Exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. That's with 1,000. Okay, and then Anne ended up clarifying that it's, I guess, the reported accidents that also have $1,000 or more dollars of damage. So I guess it's if it's reported and there's very little damage, perhaps it doesn't make it onto their list.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Great. Okay. Any other things with these minutes before we vote on this? Okay. So, oh wait, Nicole, do you still have your hand up from before or no? Okay. Let us vote then. So I make a motion that we approve the minutes from August 9th.
Seconded.
Great. And I guess we'll have a roll call vote on approving these. Let's see. Nicole, do you approve them?
Approve.
And do you approve them?
Yes.
Barbara, do you approve them?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, great. We have approved the minutes. Cool. So let's see. I will stop sharing these and let me get back to our agenda and then I can share that. Hold on 1 second. Okay. CAC agenda. There we go. All right. So we're a little scrambled up in what we're covering, like in terms of the order right now, but because we have approved the minutes, we can go on to other business. And I actually do want to discuss the candidate pipeline because we have a couple of folks who are joining tonight who are interested in being on our committee. Anna has been at the last couple of meetings and still is interested in our committee. So I'm happy that she still feels strongly about joining. I was wondering if perhaps we could take a vote on whether or not to advance Anna's candidacy to the planning board, because that would be the next step, is making sure that she can then go in front of the planning board and also get approved. So I make a motion that we advance Anna's candidacy on our committee to the planning board.
Seconded.
Great. I guess another roll call vote. Let's see. Nicole.
Anna is the doctor on Commonwealth, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Anna
Yes,
Feldweg. Yes.
absolutely.
Anne.
Yes.
Great. And then Barbara seconded it. So, well, Barbara, go ahead.
Yes.
Great. All right. So unanimously, we have voted to advance Anna forward. Awesome.
Thank you.
Yay. Very cool. So from what I understand, the next step would be the planning board would lay out a day that they're meeting. It's usually, I guess, a Tuesday, where they would be voting on you officially. And I think you would go attend that meeting just for the part of it that concerns you. And possibly I would go as well, just to like back up the fact that we want you to join the committee. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yay. All right. Let's see. Nicole, did you have something you wanted to say? Oh, you're on mute again.
I just wanted to let Anna know that it is an easy breezy process.
That is great to know.
And you've already gone through the board, so you're in good shape.
All right, so let's move on to some other business. Let's talk quickly about the update on 166 Com Ave. We have submitted our letter to the planning board, and Elizabeth has said that she is also going to be sharing it with the developer, so that's great. Separately, I know the developer is in the process of redoing their plans to address some of the concerns that we brought up and that the planning board also brought up. So that is great to hear. And I'm not sure if Elizabeth, you want to elaborate on that or not, but I figured that we should share that news with the committee.
Nope, they're gonna submit revised plans and it'll go back out to town staff, and I'll be sharing definitely sharing the letter with the applicant and asking them to come back to your October meeting to provide an update.
Thank you so much. Great. Let's see, and then update on Complete Streets work schedule. I know, Anne, you've been kind of privy to some communications about that schedule. I have too, and I emailed Justin at Public Works about it, and I might be able to pull up his email. Let me stop my sharing as I scramble around to find the email. But basically, I think the work is delayed a little bit on the Complete Streets updates, which are the paving of Com Ave and the associated sidewalk work. But he has worked with the contractor to make sure that the area will be cleaned for Discover West Concord Day, which I believe is coming up in the later part of October. And it's a big retail day for the shop owners there in West Concord. So they wanted to make sure that everything was going to be normal for pedestrians and other visitors to come and shop at their shops. Let's see if I can find his update to me, and then I'll share it with you guys. Justin. Okay. I'm going to share again. Okay. So this is what he says, and I'm wondering if I can inflate this at all. Make it more readable. Okay. So the town's contractor is working on curbing in the sidewalks. They're working on the south side, starting at Kenny Dunn Square and working towards the train tracks, working smaller sections for a new concrete sidewalk and reinstall curbing. Looks like 13B will be paved and not concrete because of anticipated reconstruction project that includes new sidewalks. Okay. Is that the bump outs, Elizabeth? Or maybe you don't know, but I was curious. Newport's charts. Okay. And let's see, Justin has asked Newport for an update on their schedule, because there's like a link that you can click that shows what's called a Gantt chart, where they're planning out what they're doing when and how each task kind of like follows from another. They do need to submit an updated schedule. he's thinking there'll be more activity like leading into the end of October, but early November. They'll clean up the work site for Discover West Concord. And it looks like they're meeting with Newport soon, and hopefully we'll be able to get some regular updates on the website. So I guess I just wanted to make sure everyone had the updated news on that project. Oops, let's see, where do I want to go? Okay. Why don't we have Anne give her update about the signage, because that kind of falls underneath some of our initiatives that we are following closely as ongoing concerns.
Well, that's fine.
And then, yeah, and then we can talk about the planning board tracker and then probably adjourn after that. So
That
go
sounds
ahead.
great. I know we're running out of time. Just really briefly, we did have, I did have an email from Erin McCloskey that I shared with you that apparently small signs that say West Concord Cultural District have been ordered for the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, so that people who are coming in by bike will know we're a cultural district. Right now, our cultural district signs, the 4 of them, are only on the roadway. Apparently they were ordered, the wrong signs came in, so they've been reordered, but we need to keep up to date. We should ask them every month where the signs are, because they said once they get them, they will immediately install them. And the second thing is, as you know, the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, it's getting done in Sudbury. It's going to be a huge deal. More and more people will be coming into West Concord. And what I noticed when I was riding all the way through Acton to Narrow Park the other day, and I actually saw Susan, what I noticed is that Acton now has all their signage up on the rail trail, and it's amazing. It tells you where the restrooms are. It tells you where you can stop to get food. It tells you it has a map in it that is made of paper underneath glass, so that when the businesses change, the map can be easily updated. So I did speak with Mark Faberman, who designed, I believe, those signage, and he said they've been designed for West Concord too. So I did have an email with Erin McCloskey and Alan Cathcart of the Public Works, and they knew nothing about them. So it'd be great if we could figure out what's going on. Do you know? Does anybody know about what's happening? Elizabeth?
So this would be the West Concord Junction Cultural District. And so the Economic Vitality Manager is supporting the cultural district. And I do believe this is something that she is following. So I don't think this is necessarily a West Concord Advisory Committee.
But we should know where the signs go, because I need to know if Wheelhouse and Artscape are going to be on the sign, right? And where is it going to be? Because what they did in Acton is they involved the whole business community and everybody.
Yep. So that would be a conversation with Mimi and the West Concord Junction Cultural District.
I'll know me, because right now the town, nobody seemed to know what was going on. So, and I think what happened is with Marshall leaving, things got confused. That's what.
Well, no, I don't think the highway superintendent understands what's going on. They just took over the maintenance of the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail.
Okay.
I do believe the West Concord Junction Cultural District knows what's going on, and they've been working through Mimi. So that's how I would follow.
Because I think the businesses need to know where the signs are going to be. Are they going to reference the Wheelhouse? Are they going to reference us? Are they going to reference Artscape? Are they going to?
So yeah, and I know that Cultural District Committee is meeting, I think, next week. They chose not to meet yesterday because of the proximity to the Labor Day holiday, but maybe it's a question to lob into them, and you could even join their meeting briefly to ask about it.
I'll go to the next.
That would be great.
And so I do have one other follow-up question though too, and I have shared this with you. You shared a link, I believe, to a meeting on the net zero the parking minimum meeting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I think I would like to attend that. It's about reducing parking requirements, because I think one of the things going through 166 showed us, and I think we need to have a meeting agenda about this in the future, maybe in October, November, that we're not designing the parcels in the cultural district as a cultural district. We're designing them as one-off separate things. So when you go to the culture districts in Rockport, they immediately tell you where the free parking is. And each lot isn't designed to have 30 cars parked on it individually. In Concord, I ride and bike here every day. It's very confusing. The parking is disorienting, and you don't even know where. I have a parking spot at the mill. I don't have to worry about when people come here, though, they don't know where to park. I saw one parking sign and it was kind of broken. So I think we need to do a parking analysis, and we need to also do a zoning overview, because we became a cultural district in 2016, and I don't think any of our zoning has been updated to reflect that. So it's never going to feel like you're in Northampton or Rockport, where they completely use that to change how they build there, to make it completely car-free, stroller-centric, bike-centric. And the bike path going through, that's all new. So we haven't really, you know what I'm talking about, Susan? I think we
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I know. I totally understand what you're saying. And I know that at one point, the WCAC was kind of like nudged to take a look at zoning, and we didn't undertake it at that time. And it could be that it's something that, with the guidance of the planning board, we should try to look at, because it'd help strategically kind of set the district up for success. I do know, like Elizabeth, you had mentioned that there might be a parking study coming for West Concord at some point. Is that something that is on the way, or could you tell us more about that?
Yep. So, so there's when people use the term parking study, it can mean two different things. There are on the ground parking studies where people go out and identify where parking spaces, ownership patterns, use patterns. That's on the ground. That's something that the town did for Nelson Nygaard was the consultant. I think it was back in 2012. It's approximately $175,000 back then to do that type of on the ground type of parking study. The planning board, as I'm going to say, usually the lead proponent when you're talking about zoning, is currently in the process of doing a zoning bylaw analysis of the parking requirements in the zoning bylaw. They've never been looked at as far as industry standards, joint parking, relief from parking. So all of those standards in the zoning bylaw, that is still a completely a separate type of study that the planning board is currently undertaking. The concept that Anne is talking about would be something that the West Concord Junction Cultural District, along with the Economic Vitality Manager, that's going to have to be starting with a grassroots conversation with all of those property owners and those business owners, because the example of like in Rockport, all of those business owners got together, and other than parking spaces are the final frontier, and everybody hoards them and keeps them for themselves for as hard and fast as they can. So what happened in Rockport is all the businesses got together. Nobody said, these are my spaces, nobody else can park here. And they basically pooled their parking spaces and just made this an incredibly joint effort. So that's a conversation that's going to have to start with the Economic Vitality Manager in the West Concord Junction Cultural District, with those property owners, with those business owners. A significant amount of education has to go along with that, because just because you're no longer this sign, this parking is for 152 Com Ave, and
Right.
so that's a third separate type
Because
of conversation that's happening. And I'll finish my thought. So that I think that's a conversation that the cultural district with the Economic Vitality Manager starts with. The information that the planning board's currently working with their consultant, that will help inform that conversation. And then I think things will move from there.
Well, I'd be happy to reach out to Mimi. What I've been doing now is taking pictures like this. I don't know if you can see it. It says no West Village Tavern parking, West Concord Plaza patrons only. You're seeing all these signs where everybody's putting up little sandwich boards to prevent parking from someone else. So I think what I'd like to do is go to Mimi, I know her, I've worked with her before in other jobs, and just say, listen, we need to look at this because it's not working. So when you go to Rockport, you don't see signs like this. You know.
Yeah, I would love to yeah, try to look at this holistically, because I feel as if each individual development project that gets proposed is going to come with its own parking requirements that they may or may not get relief for, but it just brings up the very same conversation over and over again, where folks claim there's not enough parking, but yet you see a lot of spots just sitting there idle, and you wonder, like, well, what is that?
As an architect, what I call it is parkitecture. That's the term for it. And you saw that on 166. It's where the parking requirement is driving the design. And that's not how good placemaking happens. And what we're seeing with 166, and it's a struggle for the developer. We don't want the developers to have to struggle so much. You know, so he's dealing with parkitecture. And so that's what we're dealing with. And I think, and now we're seeing these sandwich boards up everywhere. You can't park here if you're not shopping at my store. I mean, it's not how it is in Northampton and Rockport. We got to change it. So I will talk to Mimi about it and see if
that would be great. Yeah,
because I think it'd be easier for developers. I mean, the poor 166 guy, he was here so many times, but in part because we don't have the structure in place to encourage the kind of development we need.
Yeah. And so what Elizabeth is saying, there's a study going on that might help the approach moving forward, but we still have some of the challenges of the past where we have created spaces that might be going idle, or they might not be in the right location and stuff like that. Elizabeth, do you know when the planning board would be ready to release the findings for that? Do you have any idea on what that timing might be?
It's going to be at least probably 2 or 3 months out.
Okay. All right, we'll keep an eye out.
So my final thought is we should invite Mimi Granny to our meeting.
We could certainly do that.
We should do that. And just say we've written some concerns watching 166 happening, seeing what's happening. You know, everyone putting sandwich boards out, saying don't park here. We should invite her. She's only been here like 4 months, I think, or less, 3 months. She's very good. She's excellent. And I think that'd just be a good way to get it all connected.
Okay, well, I can reach out to her and see what her availability is. And it sounds like we would want her to be opining about what the vitality of the junction and also the parking question. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. And how our concerns are. And we're seeing, you know, sandwich boards up telling people not to park there all the time. And that's not what a cultural district's supposed to have.
Yeah. Okay, so I think
it's 8:15.
It is 8:15, and we should probably adjourn our meeting at this point. We do have this sign up for planning board meeting coverage, and I can't get the link to work, so I'm going to send it out to all the members independently. But basically what this is we want to make sure that each planning board meeting that happens, which is every other Tuesday, that if there is something related to West Concord on their agenda, that one of us is present to just hear what's being talked about and comment if we feel the need to, but also to bring back that knowledge to the rest of the committee. So once I get this link working, what you'll get is like a Google sheet in which you can sign up for 1 or 2 days between now and the end of the year to just look at the planning board agenda and see if there's anything related to West Concord. And if so, then you would actually go to that meeting. So make sure you select dates that you are available to go if you do need to. Okay, let's see. Nicole, do you have a question?
Didn't you send out a Google Doodle for signing up for something?
Yeah, that might have been the planning board thing, but it ended up not working. It was kind of like an epic fail. I couldn't even get it to work for myself. So I believe that we're going to, you did? Oh my gosh, do you still remember the days you signed up for? Because you should put them into this sheet.
But I think Ann did also.
And you did as well?
I think so.
All right, let me see. So let me see if I can resurrect the Google Doodle. It might not be completely useless. If I can resurrect it, what I'll do is look at what you guys said there, transfer it into the Google Sheet, and then send out the Google Sheet and say, this is our system of record. Whatever the blanks are, the rest of folks should sign up for those days. And I'm happy to sign up for some days as well. It sounds like 166 is being talked about again at the September 26th meeting of the planning board. And I definitely am interested in going back and hearing how their plan has changed there. We'll get to hear about it there first before we hear about it at our meeting in October. Great, so you'll be getting this planning board sheet from me. Any comments from the public or any other joiners, questions, concerns, anything? All right, well,
Thanks for letting me join, Susan. This has been great.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you could. I'm glad you could.
Holistically, lots to learn, lots to catch up on, but I'm very interested in this committee, and I'd love to lean in more, but just getting up to speed. But I appreciate it. So thanks for the invite, and I applied, so I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, great to hear.
Likewise, thank you, Susan.
Oh, great, great. Okay, cool. So yeah, you all will be hearing from me more, and you'll be kind of like in the process that Anna was in terms of you've joined a meeting now, and I'm going to talk to you all again about your interest, and then we'll probably take a vote on you the next meeting, which would be October 4th, and then you would go to the planning board. Yeah. So great. Cool. All right. So I'm going to make a motion to adjourn our meeting at 8:21. Does anyone second this motion?
Second.
Got lots of seconds. Okay. Do I need to take a roll call vote for that or? Okay. Yes. Elizabeth is telling me yes. Okay. So Barbara, do you agree that we should adjourn the meeting?
I do.
Okay. Nicole. She agrees. And you agree?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay. All right. Thanks everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week and I'll be in touch. All right.
Bye.
Bye.